because we was rapping about, you know, 666 and devil, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it, and tongue twisting over slow beats. And we have been doing that since like, and then all of a sudden when Bone came out, I think it was like 93, you know, kind of on our same style, like you said, Faces of Death. I was talking about, you know, Red Rum, Murder, 666, tongue twisting. We was like, damn, these dudes done stole our style.
Busy bone a hater. Sis.
Before trap took over the world, before Southern rap ran the game, and way before they had an Oscar sitting on their shelf, 3 6 Mafia was just a bunch of hungry kids in Memphis, cooking up something the world had never heard before. Their music was dark, hypnotic, and straight up rebellious. Their grind, unmatched, and the drama, oh, there was plenty of that.
And the Oscar goes to... It's hard out here for a pill. Oh my God.
From underground tapes to global hits, from industry beefs to satanic panic, their story is full of twists that made them legends. But how did a group that started with DIY mixtapes end up changing hip-hop forever? Let's get into it. 3 6 Mafia wasn't just making music, they were straight up shifting the culture. Their sound was unapologetically raw, their hustle relentless. Their drama was enough to keep the industry talking for decades. Before they had the trophies, the fame, and the respect, they were just a bunch of hungry kids in Memphis, cooking up beats that sounded way darker and grittier than anything else out there. They weren't waiting on a label to hand them a deal. They made their own lane. No industry cosigns, just pure talent, risk-taking, and a whole lot of late nights grinding it out. But making it big came with its own mess. Fallouts, lawsuits, beef, addiction, plus an Oscar win that flipped everything upside down. It all started when a couple of kids got obsessed with music. DJ Paul and his half-brother Lord Infamous were already in their bag. One was messing around with piano and drums, the other with bass and vocals. Across the city, Juicy J was doing his own thing, getting into DJing and rapping. Originally, he wanted to be a singer, but once gangsta rap hit, there was no turning back. Paul and Infamous were already pushing tapes at school under their first group name, while Juicy was making his own mixtapes but wasn't even rapping on them yet. Paul started getting booked at local spots, and his name started buzzing. At the same time, Juicy was leveling up, getting put on game by a mentor in his neighborhood. Then their paths crossed. Juicy needed beats, Paul had the skills, and just like that, the link-up happened. They had their little squad going, but Paul and Infamous still had their original duo going on the side. They dropped a project that was straight-up horror movie energy, dark, eerie, and a preview of the madness they were about to unleash. Around the same time, Juicy put out a tape with an early version of a track that would later become a classic.
And we went and made an album for $4,500, and that turned into over $45 million. Wow.
As they kept building, the music got heavier, darker, and sharper. The names switched a few times before they finally locked in the one that stuck. From there, they were unstoppable.
Well, we got a distribution deal.
Okay.
So it went from selling it in the stereo stores to selling it in the real record.
People have been side-eyeing 3 6 Mafia's name for years, convinced they were pushing some kind of secret satanic agenda. The whole 3 6 thing had folks clutching their pearls, linking it to that infamous number everyone associates with, well, the underworld. It didn't help that back in the day, people were already spiraling over hidden messages in music, swearing artists were sneaking in demonic whispers between the beats. The paranoia hit extra hard when it came to them. The eerie beats, the dark themes, the name itself, it was all too much for some people. Conspiracies started flying, parents were losing their minds, and suddenly, it wasn't just about the music anymore. Whether they were actually playing into it or just having fun watching people freak out, one thing was for sure. They knew exactly how to keep people talking. DJ Paul and Juicy J had to shut down the rumors about their name more times than they could count. The whole 3-6 thing, it wasn't some deep, sinister meaning, it was just math. 3 members at the start, 6 when the crew got bigger. Lord Infamous actually threw out the name first in a track, just messing around. It wasn't even their official name at first, but Paul liked how it sounded and started working it into their music. Eventually, when they needed a real name, they locked it in. And whether they meant to or not, that eerie branding pulled in a huge following, especially from fans who were into anything dark and edgy.
I know Lord Infamous has gone on record to say that he dabbled in like Satanism and all that stuff.
Yeah, he did.
People swore up and down that Lord Infamous was deep into Satanism, but DJ Paul dismissed it. He wasn't out here worshiping the devil, he was just high. The guy grew up on gospel music, singing church hymns while Paul played the organ. The whole dark, eerie aesthetic, just part of the act. They weren't cracking open demonic textbooks, they were making music that stood out.
Hell no.
I just watched an interview with him last night where he was talking about how he went to hell and demons were torturing him, and like it was crazy. And I was
he was just high.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, grew up singing Amazing Grace in the church, and I was in the church every Sunday in Mississippi. It don't get no more churchier.
Yeah.
Their Mystic Styles album only made the rumors worse. The cover had them looking like they stepped out of some supernatural thriller, and the beats straight up haunting. Tracks layered with whispers, references to spirits, and that signature hypnotic production had people convinced they were dabbling in the occult. Whether they believed it or not, the controversy kept them in everyone's conversations. People were ready to swear that 3-6 Mafia slipped a secret devil worship anthem into one of their biggest hits. The track sampled a gospel song from the staple singers, but some listeners swore up and down that the lyrics were praising Lucifer instead of, God. It was supposed to say something about pride, a king, and a father, but to certain ears, it was a full-on satanic chant. That was all conspiracy theorists needed to run with it.
Yeah, it was just an image. It was just something that was cool.
Right.
Like I said, we did, study like killers and stuff like that, but we never studied Satan or any of that.
Then came the backmasking rumors. Apparently, if you played some of their older tracks in reverse, you'd hear hidden messages, whispers from the underworld, or whatever people thought was going on. It didn't matter if there was any truth to it. The more people speculated, the more the group's reputation for dark music just kept growing. Now, this was back when people were convinced that music was secretly turning kids into devil worshippers, and 3-6 Mafia was basically public enemy number 1. Conservative groups and religious leaders were out for blood, calling them out for supposedly pushing some dark agenda. To the guys, it was all entertainment. Just a way to stand out and keep things interesting. And honestly, it worked. As time passed, their sound shifted from dark and haunting to straight up party anthems, making it harder for critics to keep up the satanic accusations.
I was left.
Really?
Yeah.
But we've been going at each other for 20 something years.
Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3-6 Mafia had one of those rap world cold wars that started in the 90s and dragged on longer than anyone expected. It wasn't even about real drama, just a mix-up over style and influence that fans ran with until it spiraled into a full-blown rivalry. Eventually, both sides let it go, but old grudges don't always stay buried. Fast forward to their Versus battle, and things got messy real quick. What was supposed to be a celebration of their legendary runs turned into a brief but chaotic moment on stage, proving that even decades later, some tensions never fully fade. So, DJ Paul would later look back at the so-called beef, shrugging it off as a misunderstanding. Both groups had similar sounds, and in an era where everyone was trying to stake their claim, lines got blurred. It was never that deep, just another case of the rap game making things bigger than they needed to be.
Man, it wasn't a real beef. I'd say that this is what it was. I'd say it was more of a misunderstanding.
He never saw it as a real beef, more like a mix-up that got out of hand. 3-6 Mafia had been on their horror movie flow since the late 80s, rapping about dark themes and flipping rapid-fire rhymes over slow beats. Then Bone Thugs came out, and suddenly there was another crew moving in a similar lane. 3-6 had no clue about Bone's underground catalog, and they figured Bone probably didn't know about theirs either. But when thuggish, ruggish Bone dropped and the themes lined up a little too well, 3-6 was side-eyeing the whole situation. It was giving, yo, are these dudes jacking our style?
Because we was rapping about, 666 and devil blah, 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 whatever you want to call it, and tongue twisting over slow beats. And we have been doing that since and then all of a sudden when Bone came out, I think it was like 93.
Yeah.
You know, kind of on our same style, like you said, Faces of Death. I was talking about, you know, Red Rum, Murder, 666, tongue twisting. We was like, damn, these dudes done stole our style.
A couple of run-ins happened, maybe a little shoving here and there, but nothing serious, just some good old-fashioned rap game territorial instincts kicking in. Meanwhile, over on Bone's side, they were just as confused about where the tension was coming from. Crazy Bone remembered the first time he even heard about it, straight out of a random fan letter. Some girl from Memphis basically gave them a heads up, saying there was a group out there calling them out on the radio, claiming they were the real originators of the style. That was the first time Bone even clocked who 3-6 Mafia was, and from there, the fan-fueled drama just kept growing. Bone Thugs had rolled up to a show in Memphis, minding their business, when somebody in the crowd yelled out something slick, basically calling them out. Heads turned, tensions rose, and they were ready to handle it right then and there. But security had other plans, reminding them that the real move was getting on stage, securing the bag, and leaving the drama outside. For a while, the whole situation didn't even make sense to Crazy Bone. It wasn't until he ended up on some random industry conference call that things finally started clicking. Somebody from one of the labels basically reassured them that there was no real issue, no actual bad blood. Looking back, it was all just young artists caught up in the hype. So when the chance came to link up with Gangsta Boo, Crazy saw it as the perfect way to put an end to the unnecessary tension. At the end of the day, it was about making music and keeping the business moving. At the end of the day, all that back and forth was just noise. The tension fizzled out, and eventually, both crews got on the same page. The first real link-up happened when Crazy Bone hopped on a track for Project Pat, and from there, it was all love. They even started kicking around the idea of hitting the road together.
Then after a while, we got cool, and then we did our first song was with, I would say was with Crazy Bone on Project Pat Getty Green album.
Yep.
Maybe like 97, 98, somewhere around there, 98 something.
Just when everyone thought the drama was ancient history, it came roaring back in the middle of a Versus battle. The energy was high, the music was hitting, and then Busy Bone called out 3-6, accusing them of mocking him, and Juicy J wasted no time clapping back with a straight-up disrespectful response. That was all it took. Busy launched a water bottle, and within seconds, Juicy J was charging across the stage, fists flying. The whole thing turned chaotic real fast. Security had to rush in, but not before Gangsta Boo threw shade at Busy, roasting him about his absence from the group over the years. Meanwhile, 3-6 was clowning him, acting like the whole mess happened because Bone Thugs knew they were losing. The stage was decked out with caution tape and a tombstone, but no one expected a full-on WWE moment to break out.
On a hater. See, on with you.
The screen cut to black, but the mics were still hot, catching all the back and forth. Less than 10 minutes later, the battle was back on, minus Busy Bone. The rest of Bone Thugs held it down, making it clear that no matter what, they were still family. 3-6 wasted no time jumping back in with a track dedicated to their shared interests, while Bone Thugs clapped back with a throwback anthem. At one point, Lazy Bone and Juicy J dapped up on stage, officially squashing the tension. Then, Busy popped back up, hat low, shades on. He stepped to the mic and let everyone know he wasn't trying to ruin the show, throwing out an apology to both the crowd and 3-6. After it was all said and done, he doubled down on Instagram, addressing each member, plus Swizz Beatz and others. He made it clear his passion was real, and while none of it was planned, it all wrapped up the way it was supposed to. He even threw in a line about giving them a taste of chaos to appreciate peace. In the end, the battle was messy, but hip-hop won. Things behind the scenes were messy. People dipped in and out, friendships crashed and burned, and money problems had everybody side-eyeing each other.
Situations. Situations.
But were you guys romantically involved?
No, not me and Juicy. Hell no.
You and Paul?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe.
Did that cause some problems?
Maybe.
Gangsta Boo was a force, razor-sharp lyrics, bold energy, but by the time she left, she was still figuring things out. Looking back, she admitted she had zero clue how the industry worked. She was just rapping, having fun, no strategy, no game plan. Then came the whispers, money drama, creative clashes, even religion getting mixed in. But for her, the real shift came from battling depression. She was young, living fast, popping X, but that lifestyle will eat you up if you don't know how to handle it.
But yeah, so no, I left the group just on my own path. But hindsight 2020, I was young and just didn't know about business or shit, bro. I didn't know shit. I was bumping like a doing my thing, but I didn't know nothing but besides I could.
At some point, she just decided she was done. No big announcement, no drawn-out exit. The group had a talk show appearance lined up. She just didn't show.
I was just in my own mental space, and I had felt I was wronged a few times. Well, a lot of times.
She never completely walked away, though. She linked back up with DJ Paul and some old crew members for Mafia 6, trying to bring back that classic 3-6 energy. But that reunion, short-lived. A couple of years in, she was out again. Business drama, same old story. She had her own stuff going on, personal battles stacking up, and she'd hit her limit with all the industry nonsense. Even now, she barely pays attention to anything she's not directly part of. Crunchy Black's exit had a different energy. His flow was unmistakable, his lyrics hit hard, and he was part of the foundation. Then, right after 3-6 Mafia took home that Oscar, he was out. He said the money wasn't right and felt like he was getting edged out. And he didn't stay quiet about it. He put DJ Paul and Juicy J on blast, saying they turned their backs on the crew. He later linked up with Mafia 6, but that tension never really faded. Behind all of it was the quiet split between Juicy J and DJ Paul. They built 3-6 Mafia together, but by the time the 2010s rolled around, they were on completely different paths. Juicy J was blowing up solo, teaming up with mainstream artists, and stamping himself as a trap music legend. DJ Paul, on the other hand, was all about keeping the group's legacy alive. Juicy J didn't storm out, he just kept it moving. But DJ Paul felt it heavy. Losing Juicy J wasn't just business, it was personal.
Anyway, like I was saying, all that bullshit is hype. You know what I'm saying? Calm down a little bit, but check this out. It's a lot of I can just sit up and state, you know what I'm saying, get all like wild with the in front of the cameras. You know what I'm saying? How
Coops Danica didn't leave over drama. It was the law that took him out. He was dealing with some serious charges, including robbery, and that automatically contract. No debate, no second chances. Like Gangsta Boo, he circled back years later to work with DJ Paul on Mafia 6, but it didn't last long. In 2015, he passed away after suffering a stroke. Coops Danica was 40th. DJ Paul broke the news, calling him one of the funniest, chillest people you could ever meet. They had history, more than 20 years of making music together, and those tracks weren't going anywhere. Coop had been in the hospital, hooked up to life support after a stroke. His team had already warned fans that things weren't looking good and doctors weren't giving much hope. Juicy J posted about him, saying they made history together. From the early days of 3-6 Mafia, Coop had been in the mix, laying verses on everything from Smoked Out, Lowst Out to When the Smoke Clears. Legal trouble pulled him away from the group, but he never fully disappeared. Even after stepping back, he kept dropping bars on later albums, worked with side projects like Mafia 6, and even teamed up with Insane Clown Posse. Right before everything happened, he and DJ Paul were plotting a sequel to The Devil's Playground. They had ideas, but none of it got recorded. He was even supposed to move into a new house in Vegas, but never got to see it in person. His loss hit hard, especially since he wasn't the first. Lord Infamous had passed a few years earlier from a heart attack, also at 40. Lord Infamous passed away in his sleep. His mom found him at home, and DJ Paul later shared that he had just laid his head down at the table and never got back up. He'd dealt with health issues before, a stroke and a heart attack years earlier, but this time, he didn't pull through. Word started spreading fast. Gangsta Boo was the first to say something, asking people to respect his family. Juicy J was in disbelief, saying he couldn't believe it was real. Lord Infamous had been there from the jump, back when 3-6 Mafia was still called Backyard Posse. He, DJ Paul, and Juicy J started it all, later bringing in Stanika, Crunchy Black, and Gangsta Boo. Mystic Styles put them on the map, but by the time 3 6 Mafia made Oscar history, he wasn't in the lineup anymore. That didn't stop him from making moves. He launched his own label, Black Rain Entertainment, and eventually linked back up with some of the original crew to form Da Mafia 6. DJ Paul made it clear his legacy was locked in. They had been making music together for over 2 decades, and the tracks they created weren't just ahead of their time, they were untouchable.
And the Oscar goes to... It's hard out here for a pimp. Oh my God.
So, I did say something about the boy winning an Oscar. Yep, wasn't a mistake. Nobody really thought it had a shot at an Oscar. Hip-hop wasn't exactly Hollywood's favorite child. And 3 6 Mafia? They were the last crew anyone expected to be up there accepting awards in tuxedos. But then, the moment hit, Queen Latifah on stage, announcing Best Original Song, and boom, 3 6. Mafia's name rang out. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Hollywood got the memo. Hip-hop wasn't just a genre, it was art.